The radiance of light is so stupendous that when we contemplate it and when we truly absorb it and its virtues, we are transformed. As we focus on light today, divine light, we enter into the light. We feel the absorption of it. And as we are absorbed into that light, we feel bright, radiant, pure, unadulterated, clear, clean, and refreshed. The radiance of light is so stupendous that when we contemplate it and when we truly absorb it and its virtues, we are transformed. And we are, through this absorption process, moving closer and closer to our source, to the point where we feel the light of our source deep inside, and that light itself sustains us. Imagine being sustained only by light and divine fire, as the ascended beings are. They no longer eat physical food, yet they continue to absorb light and to be refreshed by that light. We have the 8 heart virtues, which are very important for this cycle of Aquarius dawning. And there are 8 practices that we can engage in to fix these beautiful heart virtues deeper within our beings in order to sustain this light flowing through us at all times. Some of these can be adoration, loving God with our whole being, meditation, stilling the mind and going in a receptive mode into the inner self to listen deeply. Invocation, using the science of the spoken word to draw forth that light into our dimension. Contemplation, which is different a little bit from meditation in that we focus on the divine and we draw a circle of our consciousness around and through and within God in order to understand who God is and to know God. Emanation, which is this beautiful heart-streaming experience where we dynamically emit light, once having absorbed enough that we feel that we have the sufficient quantity to actually help others. Education, where we study the Word and we absorb the wisdom teachings deep within our minds and our souls. Transmutation, which does go along with invocation, yet it is the science of transformation and change by adding the element of the violet light, where one substance is transmuted into another, where we change the lesser metal of our lower nature into the divine golden light of our Christ consciousness. And finally, elevation, where we actually enter into the process of our ascension to reunite with God. These 8 practices are essential for initiates to utilize on their journey home to the heart of God, And we can use any or all of them in a given day or cycle of our lives, our day and our night, in order to fully utilize the heart energies that we are with Gautama Buddha as the Lord of the world, utilizing and investing within, in order that we can become fully self-realized Buddhas ourselves. Not just thinking about it or in an outer way contemplating it, actually through the absorption process of using all of these techniques or tools or resources, fully becoming that Eightfold Path and all of its divine glory, beauty, harmony, and joy. Each of these is important, and sometimes we may concentrate a little bit more on one or another of them. During our services, of course, we are involved in adoration and invocation and transmutation and emanation especially. Yet at other times of our day we may be focused on studying, education. It may be focused on work and service, which is not mentioned and yet is the practical application of all of these 8 heart virtues. And then as we refine ourselves more and more in the process of our true liberation, we are free then to pursue any and all of these techniques at any time in order to then help to awaken, illumine, enlighten mankind and help each and every man, woman, and child become self-actualized, self-realized in God. As we contemplate each of the 8 heart virtues throughout the year and focus for 6 weeks approximately on each, there is a beauty that alights in our world in the absorption process. There is a mystical union manifesting as, in a sense, we unite our auras with Gautama Buddha, the sponsor of these, and enter into a deeper Guru Chila or master-student relationship whereby we continue to receive guidance, instruction, teaching from the Buddha directly. And this direct experience of illumination and enlightenment, which is an ongoing process, is essential for us because the world is changing fast and we must meet those changes by being ready for them and actually being ahead of the game in a sense, where we are stretching the limits of our consciousness beyond what we normally do or what we're used to invest in the dynamic of planetary transformation. If we are willing to be pummeled sometimes by our own higher self or a master, if we are willing to be changed and tutored, coached, and at times goaded a little bit, then being ahead of the game, we can then prepare for others to go through this process with maybe a little greater ease so that it's not as tough for them because we have made the way plain by the disciplines of the Spirit and by our willingness to undergo this process, which can be daunting at times and may involve surrender again and again of different elements of our lower nature so that we are fully blazing with the glory of God in our auric fields and in our lives. So the more we are willing to be self-transformed, the easier it will be for those coming after us to go through this process because we have laid that groundwork, we have done the deep dive, we have cleared the way. Just as the great arhats and the messengers of light and the avatars clear the way for thousands and even millions of souls to be transmuted into greater God glory, we participate in this alchemy with the great masters because we know them, we trust them, they trust us through the yoking of our beings and our light with them in these various alchemies. And it is a great thing to really grok the master and the deep understanding that he or she has that we require in order to then be that way shower, like John the Baptist was for Jesus, and like others have been for other masters. If we truly are a disciple of El Morya, we will become the will of God. If we are a disciple and a student of Saint Germain, we will know what the violet fire can do and what it does on a daily basis to elevate our world and to invest in the light of divine freedom, justice, and opportunity for greater planetary uplift and support. If we yoke ourselves with the Immaculate Heart of Mary, as many of us do through our rosaries, we are invested again and again in the multiplicity of her virtues, especially holding that immaculate concept for ourselves and others in the world, so that with that strong, fixed gaze upon what is perfect, divine, beautiful, and pure within every individual and within the world at large, we also are preparing the way for the Aquarian model to be realized in this new solar civilization dawning. So it takes each and every one of us as supporters of this greater planetary mission of the universal white brotherhood, brother-sisterhood, and the great masters of East and West who have gone before us, as well as the angels and other divine beings. And when each one of us does our work and engages every day in supporting this cosmic endeavor and this planetary plan, then things go a little easier, and supporting one another, one or other of us don't have to bear the full weight of the responsibility for much of these changes that affect and impact our own personal life and even our body temples. The more that each of us commit to and engage in and are disciplined in these activities of the Spirit, the greater light of the collectivity, the egregor of the community can shine forth and bring forth the brilliance of Ascended Master Consciousness into the world at large, and the greater the blessing and the boon will be to thousands and even millions of souls. And we are the first fruits of the blessing, because when we invoke the light, being the nexus for that invocation, we are the first fruits and the receptors of the great light that dawns right within the world through the nexus of our hearts, our minds, our souls, our wills, as we first absorb and then radiate forth that light. So this is like a short little understanding of the path from our perspective, those of us who have been studying and engaging in the Ascended Master handiwork now for decades, and of course lifetimes. Yet now we are at the crux of the transition between Pisces and Aquarius. And we have been at that nexus for quite some time, and yet it's moving more quickly now. The shifting is occurring with a little more intensity, and souls are being called to change. And if they do not change, if they do not self-transform, then something else may be offered unto them somewhere else for a longer process that they must go through, that is part of the ascension cycle. We all have the opportunity to be our best at every moment our purest, our highest self, using conscious language, compassionate or nonviolent communication, understanding the dynamics of each one's own individual path and how we can't abrogate their own free will by interfering. We can make suggestions at times, yet often it is better simply to be silent, to pray, and to visualize perfection for another, that we may behold and one's level of consciousness if we perceive that they may be compromising or having an issue. Who is it that is compromising? Who is really having the issue? Do we have the issue because we are observing and actually creating part of that matrix for that individual? So the higher we go on the path, the more objective we become, the less subjective we are in judging, analyzing, and then maybe even gossiping about another's peccadillos or this situation or that. And we still find within our community at times that people do not understand the deeper dive into the immaculate concept and what that truly means, and how we can all help to transform the whole by simply being at peace with what is happening and pouring forth love in its highest output to each and every individual within our community, and loving them with a pure, holy, unadulterated love. If we find that some are saying things or gossiping or doing things that we hear about or whatever, it comes back to us, stop, be still, go within. Forgive self and other, and pour forth love and a stream of God consciousness into the situation, so that enlightenment may occur, so that understanding may be born anew, so that there is the dissolution of the dynamics of this actually very destructive activity. And I think some of us, unbeknownst to others, can be impacted by these energies of people saying things here and there that are not so nice, that are not really there to improve any situation, and it may just be an observation that turns into something deeper. Yet we have to be very sensitized now because of the energies we're bearing for the planet and for Gautama and the ascended hosts. And so the less we say, sometimes the better. The less we talk about this or that situation that we think is imperfect, or the problems in another individual, and hold our peace and say what we say with love, the greater we will support the resolution of any conflict and the bringing forth of the highest solution to every issue at hand. The Masters time and again have warned us about gossip, and yet, from my perspective, and even me at times being at fault myself, I see this as a very pernicious thing that must go if we as a community are to draw forth the beautiful, beautiful souls that are destined to be part of our activity, our community of light. And so Gautama comes to remind us of this very important subject in the greater context of our mission, our vision, and our sacred work, because none of us desires to compromise what the Masters can do through us, through little things that become bigger things, gnats that become hornets, So let's transmute the gnat before it becomes a wasp or a hornet, and then it will have no sting to invest in hurting another person, whether locally or across the planet. Finally, Gautama would like to bless us with the joy of his oversoul, which is his causal body of light. And as I feel the impulses streaming forth from the magnificent I am presence and causal body of the Lord of the world unto each and every one of you, absorb it now, feel its radiance, and join yourself to this greater planetary mission. Be at peace with self and other. If necessary, go to another that you may have wronged or you may have gossiped about and ask for forgiveness. And feel through the light of Ho'oponopono or the invocation of the violet ray, the washing clean of the record of recent days, weeks, months, and years, so that you can enter into this new cycle with a glorious white page of purity before you. And all shall be transmuted, cleansed, purified, and rarefied in the eternal presence of the one loving and living God. So be it. Amen.